All right, you guys. Hey, Mark P. Markets here. Mark Principato. Hey, thanks for joining me for another Bitcoin video analysis session. I am simulcasting on TradingView and on YouTube. So I want to thank you all for joining me. So in this session, of course, if you're new to the stream, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to analyze Bitcoin first. Actually, I'm just going to mention very quickly the economic calendar. Then I'm going to run through the Bitcoin analysis, which is what we're here for. I'm going to talk about support and resistance levels and potential scenarios that we can see throughout the week so that you can prepare. Okay, and then I'm going to go over your questions. So if you have a stock or an altcoin that you'd like me to evaluate, please put it in the channel now. Okay, hold on a second. Let me make sure I get this thing going here. Hold on. Sorry about that. One moment here. Okay. And so I was going to say, if you have a question about a stock or a market, please put it in the channel now. So once I complete my portion of the analysis, I can answer your question. Now, again, my goal is to do this for an hour, maybe slightly over, and that's it. Okay. No 2-hour sessions here. All right. So let's get this thing started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. And let me go to my charts real quick. All right, let me turn this off. Again, I want to say hello to everyone. By the way, if you want to share what city or what country you're from, that's always a fun fact. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, also known as Northern New Jersey. Okay, so now you know why I talk like the way I talk. All right, so let's get this thing going here. So first thing, today's Monday. Let me move my microphone, make sure you guys can hear me. Hold on. Let me just adjust this a little bit. Okay, you guys should be able to hear me okay now. Today's Monday. The first thing you should do on a Monday or on a Sunday evening is check your economic calendar. TradingView has its own economic calendar, and you want to check for important events throughout the week. There are quite a number of events this week that you should be aware of. Why? To help you mitigate risk. Okay, that's the number one thing that I have to harp on, especially today. You guys need to be focused on risk, not chasing profits. So again, I'm not going to read the whole calendar. I'm just going to highlight only the most important of the important events, right? So the 17th, which is tomorrow, Tuesday, there's a number of things coming out. So you have U.S. retail sales, which is sort of important. More importantly, you have Fed Chairman Powell. He's having a speech, okay? Federal Reserve Chairman is having a speech tomorrow. I don't know what time he's having the speech because it's not on my calendar here, but he's speaking. That's a very important piece of information. Also, the ECB President Lagarde is speaking. And if you paid any attention to what went on the week before, the night that Lagarde spoke, right, I think it was Thursday night or going into Friday, Euro got hammered. Okay, and I missed that short. I wanted to short that. I missed it. Anyway, so important to keep an eye on these central bank people, all right, especially Chairman Powell. So the reason why that's important, again, is going into such a speech, the market can become very erratic. No one wants to take any major positions in case he gives a hint that the market doesn't like. Okay, the best scenario would be a non-event. You know, basically he says something that won't make the market go wild either way, because you don't want to get caught on the wrong side of that. All right, that's the whole point. You're not trying to trade what he's saying. You want to let the market figure it out. This is why I try to help people prepare by anticipating levels in advance, so that if the market gets to a level, you have an idea of what you should be doing there or what to expect in light of the environment and the structure, right? That's context. That's what helps shape your trade idea and shape your risk and develop some sort of expectation for risk. Okay, so those are the major ones this week. Other than that, there's really nothing else worth mentioning. Right, so that's the economic calendar. Again, there are a number of other events, but you want to make sure you check those out on your own. They're usually not major market movers, so I'm not going to mention them at all. All right, so again, tomorrow is really the big one with Chairman Powell speaking. Okay, all right, so let's talk about Bitcoin. If you go to my TradingView article that I wrote yesterday, what was the headline of that article? Basically, it says 32K lower high. Okay, look for 32K lower high or whatever it said. This is the chart that I shared in that analysis, and this is here. Let me pull this up here. This is the 32K resistance. Okay, well, we got the lower high. It never exactly went to 32K. So again, people criticize me and say, oh, he just says the market's going to go higher or lower or sideways. Anyone can say that. No, what I'm saying is I'm giving you the levels to prepare for something, okay? The resistance level was 32K. So the point of my article was, if price manages to get into that zone, it's actually a zone. I only put one line here because I don't want to make my charts complicated. I mean, this is really all you need on a chart. It's extremely simple. Less is more, okay? People want magical, complex charts with all kinds of magical things on them. All right, it's all nonsense. I'm telling you right now, okay? I've been doing this a long time, and I'm a chartered market technician. I've demonstrated my professional ability to interpret charts, and I can tell you right now, 95% of the information on your charts is useless, okay? Now, my point is this: your resistance was 32K. Price could not make it there and turned. Once price closes like this, we only have a few hours before this thing closes. Once you get that close, the party's over. I mean, the lower high is in. For bears who want to short this, I mean, this will become a sell signal once the low of this candle is taken out, but that's quite a lot of risk that you must face, especially going into a Powell speech, because in case you haven't figured it out yet, this thing follows the S&P. All right. Now, some people argue with me about that, but just look at the charts. This is the risk you face. What if this thing develops a higher low somewhere in here or a double bottom? It can happen. Now, the structure and the environment and the momentum favor, those factors favor a lower low. All right. So if you want to be aggressive and you want to take a short on a break of that low, your risk is going to have to be the high of this candle, right? Which is what, 31,300 basically, or you're going to have to look at that 32 area as a place somewhere. Your stop would have to go somewhere in there. All right. It's a lot of risk. You're talking about 3,000 or 4,000 points. What is this thing at right now? 29.8. So you're looking at least, right, 2,500 to 3,000 points of risk, which, I mean, I've seen larger risks, but still, that's pretty significant, right? And the thing is, the move is sort of in progress right now, so you're not getting exactly a great price. An ideal situation would be to get like a pin bar, off of such a level, a bearish pin bar, or perhaps an inside bar. Maybe tomorrow you get a green inside bar, after Powell speaks, something like that. Now that would offer a much better reward risk than trying to sell the bottom of this candle. Now, just to be clear, I don't short Bitcoin. I'm not going to start shorting Bitcoin now. And people are, why not? Why don't you short Bitcoin? There's so much money to be made. There's no reason to, okay? It requires leverage and all that other stuff. If I want to get short, there are plenty of other markets, okay? There's Forex markets, there's the S&P, there's the NASDAQ, plenty of other things to short. I don't need to short Bitcoin. Now, so again, that's the resistance, and it looks like the lower high is in. So where there is a lower high, it is likely to be followed by a lower low, right? That's what the structure and the environment favors, a lower low. Do we get it? It's another story. People want me to make predictions. I don't make predictions because I know better, okay? Markets are random. Markets are, no one knows where the market's going to be a day from now, a week from now, a month from now. Things change. If you can't respect that random nature of the market, you really have no business being in this game, right? If you say, "Well, I'm going to go for the guy that says Bitcoin is going to go to 50K because he was right," anyone can be right randomly. So you have to understand the random nature of the market and respect it, right? And then that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to parlay that into measuring risk and respect that risk, because if you don't, you get caught in stuff like this, okay? Now, so the structure favors a lower low, but we don't know if we'll get one. So what to do? How do you prepare for this? Well, here's the thing. I mean, as a long, because I'm only interested in longs, for swing trades, I look at the support level, right, which is 28K right now. That's the support, and it has a good chance of being broken. I understand that, and I respect that, right? I also know that it's not just this line by itself. It's going to be a zone. So it's going to basically be this zone right here. All right, 28K to 26K. That also overlaps the 25K, right? We got that pin bar low that I've talked to a few people about the week before, right? Wedge, you know what I'm talking about, and Burak, I don't know if he's here, but we had this conversation, and they were asking me how I arrived at 25K. I explained it to them. Anyway, market agreed with that. All right, now, if price goes back into this area, into this zone, it is a high probability area for a double bottom or a bullish reversal. But for a swing trade, the thing is, that type of setup, if I see it, it is going to be categorized as aggressive because I'm going against the momentum, right? So that means a couple of things. My expectations are shaped at that point. I'm going to look at my risk. Okay, if I get a reversal somewhere around here, at this point, I suspect my risk will be at least 3,000 points. That's been about the average on Bitcoin. It may be something else, but I suspect that's what it's going to be, something like that, right? So if I get my reversal somewhere around this area, I'm not going to expect anything outrageous, meaning, you know, you're going to have all your fake gurus. This is the bottom of Bitcoin. It's going to go to 100,000 by next week. Don't miss out. Buy all you can. Buy all your altcoins. Blah, blah, blah. Right? You're going to get all those morons coming out at that point. We should know better. If we do get a bounce in this zone between 28K and 26K, then I will be looking for at least 1-to-1 reward risk. Now, the resistance at that point will still be here at this 32K area. So that is within reason, but I'm not going to sit there and say, well, I'm going to wait till it goes up there and I'm going to just get out of everything, right? Because that's maximize my profit. That's what a professional does, right? Wrong. I look at everything in terms of risk, right? So my profit targets are measured in risk, meaning if I risk 3,000 points, then I should be looking to start exiting or lightening up or reducing my risk if I can get 3,000 points in the trade. Okay, so if I'm getting in, you know, 27K, 28K, then my first target is going to be around what, 31, something like that, right? Whatever my risk is at that point, I'm going to look at 1-to-1 because in this environment, especially an aggressive trade, you have to take what you can. So 1-to-1 is acceptable. Now, the trick is sometimes the market won't deliver 1-to-1, right? It will give you a sell signal before it delivers 1-to-1. You have to be able to adjust, right? So if you see something like that, and maybe you have a smaller profit, maybe, you know, you have like a half of the 1-to-1, it's not enough. Well, theoretically, it's not enough. But if the market gives you a sell signal, you should not be seeing a sell signal. When you get a reversal off of an area like this, you should not be seeing a sell signal here. Okay, you should not. Just like, let me give you an example. I called a swing trade not too long ago. It was when we had that rally. Let me see if I could find it here. It wasn't this one. It was this one right here. Okay, there was some news or something. I forget what came out, and the market had a little bit of a rally going. I mentioned this double bottom situation right here, right? And I put out a swing trade right here. Break of, I think it was 41K or 40 and a half, I think was the level I put out. And the next day it turned red, okay, and stopped out because the stop was at like 2,000 points. Some of you got into, I know, Peter, you mentioned that. Peter, I'm sure you're glad you got out of that now after the fact, right? But I mentioned that, and I mentioned that when you take such a trade, you have to respect the risk. So if it turns red like this and knocks you out, this is not what a bullish market should do, or bullish momentum. This is not what bullish momentum looks like when it's following through, okay? Bullish momentum looks like this. Here, let me show you. This is what bullish momentum looks like, a green candle here, right? That would have been bullish momentum, not a red candle that goes straight to the stop. So it got stopped out. Now, that's what you're dealing with in this environment. Anyone that held on to that think, it'll come back, it'll come back, it'll come back. Yeah, it went to 25K and it's still trying to come back. You must respect the risk. The environment does not favor any type of sustainable rally. So you have to take what you can get. Okay, but my point about this, again, showing you this here, my point is when it turns on you and it turns earlier than expected, you must adjust. So that could be trailing your stop, tightening your stop. If you have a smaller than expected profit, you take it. because you don't want to take the chance that the market is going to break the next low, which is more likely to happen. You understand? This is a probability game and nothing else. So, everyone, I have to maximize my profit. I have to, I have to do this and I have to do that. And it's going to go here because this guy told me so. It's all reward, risk, and probability. All right. Understand the environment you're in, understand what's favored. Right now, bearish momentum is favored. So if you take a short, an aggressive short, that aggressive short is more likely to follow through. But you can't sit there and say, oh, this is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. It can turn on you, especially if there's a double bottom there. There could be a temporary rally for whatever reason. You don't know. It's random. Okay. All right. So that's my Bitcoin talk. I've been talking. All right. That's about good. That's good enough. Okay. So one thing I want to mention here before I get into these questions, and I see some good questions here. So good. Keep typing in the questions. One thing I want to mention is the deceptive nature of this game. And I'm not talking about just what you see on your charts. I mentioned this briefly in my previous stream, and it's an important topic that you really should be on top of because you're the ones that have to face this. Right? I know better, so I'm not affected by this. But many of you who are new will be affected by this. A fake guru, I'm not going to mention his name, was recently fined $3 million for deceptive advertising. Okay, that was what the complaint was. It's actually public. And I went through the complaint. I wanted to see every detail of it. And he was actually fined for deceptive advertising, basically making over-exaggerated claims in his ads. Right? Now, everyone does that. But for whatever reason, they got him. The problem with this is, like, yeah, sure, I know that. The problem with this is he was not getting fined for what he was really doing. Okay, now I want to explain what that is. So the guy can show, many fake gurus out there can show you legitimate results, right? They look like legitimate brokerage results, and they may be actually from a broker. So how do you fake something like that? Because they're faking it. I'm going to tell you how this guy faked it. There's this thing called front running, right? So front running is typically illegal. As you know, in the altcoin space, chat rooms do it all the time, right? They buy a bunch of coins before everyone else, and then they put out messages, yeah, this altcoin is going to be the next blah, 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 right? And then it runs up to whatever, and they get out on you, right? They unload on you. That's perfectly legal in the altcoin space. But in the stock world, it's not legal. But this guy was actually using YouTube to basically get a crowd together, right? And because YouTube has a delay between what I'm saying right now and by the time you hear it, he was taking advantage of that inefficiency. Right. So by the time his followers were buying it, he can unload onto them. So, okay, fine. That's front running. We should all know better. Right. That's not where the problem is. The problem is those results that he gets from that, because that's a guaranteed profit. Okay. You're basically stimulating the demand, and then you are selling to people that are buying. Right. That shows up as a legitimate trade on your brokerage statement. Now you can show those brokerage statements. Oh, look how much money I made. And, So that's nice for him, but you will not be able to produce those same results. Okay, that's the thing. And then you're going to think that it's his strategy that's generating those results, not the one he's selling to you. Okay, so in order to produce those same results, you also need to get a big crowd to believe in this stock so that they can all buy it off of you. Look, this is an old trick. Brokers used to do this many, many years ago when they used to call people up on the phone. They used to call that doctor who was too busy to do his own research, sell him a good story. He buys the stock and they unload their inventory, right? It's the same idea. Except the thing is, they're able to make these things look legitimate. And you have to be wary of that, okay? People are so desperate to believe in that dream, but it's a legitimate statement. That's good enough. That's good enough, right? They want to believe that the strategy works, and then they'll pay the guy thousands of dollars for education that's completely worthless. So it's important to understand that, as a novice, maybe you're new in this game, you don't know those type of tricks. And that's a hard trick to figure out. Okay. It took me quite some time to realize that that's how he was generating his business. I understand the front running part, but being able to produce legitimate brokerage statements off of, unethical activity, basically tricking your viewers into buying something and then selling it to them, right, with a stock, that's not exactly something that's straightforward. Does that make sense? Okay, so I just wanted to mention that real quick. People, you should be aware of that kind of stuff. a fake guru will always show you some kind of thing like that. Don't get sucked into the dream. No one can turn a little bit of money into a lot of money very quickly without taking an enormous amount of risk. Okay. So if they imply that this is doable and that this is a skill and this is pretty easy, all you have to do is put on more size, that kind of stuff, you should run the other way. All right. So let me get to your questions. That's enough. That's enough of my fake guru rant for today. I mean, there's too many of these people, and the industry needs to really, they're good for the industry. So like on one side, I complain about them, but on the other side, they bring in a lot of activity, right? Someone needs to take the other side of our trades, and they attract those type of people. I mean, just look at these commercials on TV. There was a commercial for this, I guess, broker. I don't know what they are. An exchange. I don't know. You can buy stocks. I guess there's sort of something like Robinhood, I guess. And they'll show like the subject, the person on TV. Well, I had this great community where everyone wants to make money together, and we're all in this together, and they share some great information because we're not all in this together. Okay, that's it's just nonsense. But obviously, that's what the advertiser knows, that's what their customers want to hear, right? Come to this friendly community, the Facebook of investing, and you're going to meet others who know more than you, and they're going to share that valuable information with you. And together as a group, you're going to be successful investors because you're informed, right? Nonsense. That this game is the complete opposite. Anyone with any valuable information like that will not share it. There's no incentive to. So understand that that's how the game works. And you're the retail investor. You're the one that makes others rich. Understand that. That is your role. That is how software vendors look at you. That is how exchanges look at you. That is how brokers look at you. That is how Forex dealers look at you, educators, everyone. Hey, I'm in the education business, whatever. That's it. I'm telling you. Okay. So I'm being honest. All right. So let's get to your questions, because I know I'm ranting and I need to stop. All right. So let me see. I got so many questions here. First, let me say hello to a few people. All right. So I got Ben. Hey, good to see you. Eligius. All right. Kai. Hey, Kai, I sent you a message. I don't know if you got my message. Let me know if you got my message, on the platform. Okay. Because you may have not seen it. Okay. So Kai, let's see, Douglas, good to see you. Thomas. All right. Who else we got here? Peter. All right. Okay. Wedge. Alex, good to see you. Winter. I got my Romanians here. Okay. Let me see. Do I have Mario? Hey, Mark. All right. Mark Chu. Who else we got? Julio. Travel. Hey, good to see you all. All right. All my regulars. I don't see, who's missing here. Who's missing. I don't see, what's his name? Schwartz, my international man of mystery. I think he quit. I don't know. I haven't seen him in a while. I don't think he likes me anymore. It's okay. It happens. All right. Let me see what else we got here. So on the other side here, on TradingView, who do we have over here on this side? Let me see. I better see some good people here. Can I scroll this thing upward? What's going on over here? Sorry, hold on. My mouse is acting funny. Hold on. There we go. Let's see what we got. All right. So we got, Barak, there he is. Steve, good to see you. All right. We got Craig. We got Milad. All right. Jaguar. All right. Cool. Hey, guys, thanks for stopping by and thanks for your questions. All right. So let's get into these. All right. So first things first, I'm going to start over here on this side with Ben. All right. Because Ben's had this one here for a while. Palantir. So from Toronto, how risky? So all right, it's a good question. How risky? Oh, Bergs sent you 100 coins. Hey, Bergs, thank you so much for sending 100 coins from TradingView. That's very nice of you. You don't have to do that. What would be more helpful is if you follow me on TradingView, or if you follow me in other places, or press the like button. You don't have to send me 100 coins, but I appreciate that. That was very thoughtful of you. Thank you. Okay, but again, if you want to help out, the likes are very helpful. Okay, so let's take a look at PLTR and let's see what's going on here. Right, so it wants to know the risk. All right, how risky is going long now? So the first thing is I want to take a look at the weekly chart. Get that nice weekly pin bar there. Right now, when you're dealing with a stock, this stock got hammered recently, got hammered significantly. Right, obviously a growth stock, not going to do well in this environment. You have to understand something. The environment hasn't changed. So you have a bullish pin bar. Okay, but you have a lot of problems here. For one, the environment is not in your favor. Number two, you broke that support. So this is kind of out of the vicinity. I guess you could say it's still within. I have to measure it. I don't have the measuring thing set up right here. This could be in the failed low vicinity, and you have that pin bar. Again, this is a weekly chart, but your question is, what is the risk? Well, when you ask a question like that, this chart is not exactly going to help you. What you want to look at here is the NASDAQ, because it's a NASDAQ stock. So if the NASDAQ, what is the risk on the NASDAQ is the question, okay? And the NASDAQ, if you look at this here, we zoom out a bit, there's nothing bullish about this. It can't get its act together. The environment still does not favor a bullish NASDAQ or these tech stocks. So although all these stocks look like they have like a green candle going, this is the bottom, based on what the mainstream news will tell you. Right here, let's take a quick look at the bonds real quick, right? Because you should always look at the bonds too. Now look, the bonds are trying to stabilize, all right? So that's somewhat significant. It's still a little early. We have this leg higher, but what does it do from here? Is it going to break this resistance? Hasn't broken any significant resistance levels yet. All right, maybe we get a consolidation in the bonds. Why is that important? Because if we get a consolidation there, that means rates will be stabilized. And if rates stabilize, then that may offer some stability for the future. Okay, that's why that's important. That could be a change in the environment, but it's not fully there yet. Why do I bring that up with stocks? Because if rates don't stabilize, these stocks are going to continue, are likely. I don't want to speak in absolutes because that would be wrong. But if rates don't stabilize, the stocks are likely to go lower. Okay, so what's the risk? Well, the risk is rates don't stabilize, right? Bonds start pushing lows again, and these stocks break their lows. Right, so if the NASDAQ takes out this low here, 11,690, then you're probably going to go for another low, which is, let's take a look. How much lower can this thing go? Well, you're looking at, let me see here. You have an old, look at it, bounced right off of that old resistance right there, right? So acting as support, you have this level next, okay, which is what? 10,855. So basically like 11,000. That's the risk. That's the risk that you face. And so something like Palantir will get hammered, further, especially since it's acting pretty much in line with the market. It's relatively weak. You're looking at breaking below that pin bar, which is what, $6.44. I mean, man, this thing can go to 4. This thing can go to 3. I mean, when the NASDAQ stabilizes, you'll probably see more stability in something like this, but it's too early to make that judgment. So if you want to invest, again, investing is more about sizing than it is about timing. If you believe in this company, and whatever it is that they're, promoting or whatever, and you want to pick up some inventory, well, we're certainly not at highs, okay? But it's still not a time to be like, oh, the bottom's in, okay? You want to recognize the fact that rates are still unstable. I mean, have you seen oil? Okay, there's still instability, right? Look at this. I mean, what does oil have to do with any of this? Look at this. Look at oil breaking out in the face of a strong dollar. You see that? Look at, well, the dollar's pulling back slight pullback on the dollar, and oil looks like it's going berserk. That's not good, okay, generally. So, what's the Fed going to do about that? Is the Fed going to have to fight that further? Is the Fed going to have to, is that going to affect interest rates? We don't know, right? So my point is, again, if you want to invest, small bites only. There's no reason to be aggressive yet at these levels because there's still plenty of room for the market to test much lower levels, right? There's still plenty of potential for that. Let the bond market stabilize first. That's my answer. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Dollar. Okay. So I just mentioned the dollar, right? Again, the dollar looks like an altcoin and you have to respect it, right? Doesn't matter why. Don't apply logic. It is what it is. When rates stabilize and rates start to reduce, you'll see the dollar have a more significant pullback. Until the dollar shows that, don't fight the strong dollar, okay? Do not fight it. All right, let me see what else we got here. Hold on. I'm going to jump over to the other chat. What do we got here? Karel Electronic, Barak. What is that? Karel. All right, let me take a look. It's Karel. Okay. Oh, so that's I guess it's a Turkish. Oh, look at this. Okay. Must be a Turkish stock. So first thing I want to see is the weekly. All right. I mean, look, that's a strong looking chart in light of what the general markets are doing, right? Now, I don't know what the equivalent of the S&P is for Turkey, but we could still use the S&P itself because it pretty much leads the world, right? A lot of times. So either way, that is a bullish consolidation, right? Higher low consolidation, trying to break out. So what to do here? Well, in light of the environment, look, you're going right into these resistances here. What is this, around $14.13? This in Turkish lira. I think it's in Turkish lira. Yeah. So you're looking at something like that. Not a good place. You don't want to buy into a resistance in this environment. So what to do here? An aggressive long, you're looking for the breakout. It's aggressive. You're going, you may get caught in something like that. You're going to have to babysit that. Otherwise, wait for another test of range low, okay, which is 1155, something around there. If the market gives you that opportunity, that would be the best place to, your more ideal reward risk would come from around that level. I guess you could say around the $12 level. Now, the other thing you could do with something like this is let it break without you, or if it breaks, take a small bite. You want to be part of it. Take something that you won't feel too much pain if it pulls right back inside of its range, which it can easily do. And then if it follows through, meaning it makes that higher high and then retests this area, right, as a support, that would be a place to add more, and then look for the next higher high from there if it can follow through in such a way. Now, keep in mind, again, there's no way to know if these things will. All we can tell from this chart is that's a pretty strong chart, right? That's a weekly chart, and it looks like it's on the verge of breaking out. So certainly don't want to short it. That's for sure. All right. So those would be the ideas on something like that. Again, you have to be patient with them. All right. Especially when it looks like it's breaking out and you think you're going to miss out. Don't ever feel that way, because chances are it'll pull back into that area and you'll have more opportunities. Even if it has a magnificent breakout and goes berserk, there has to be a pullback at some point along the way that should give you an opportunity where you can measure your risk appropriately and go from there. Does that make sense? So anyway, thank you for bringing that up. It's a nice looking chart. All right. Hey, Steve. Thanks, Steve. Okay. Let's go. Let me just take a look here. What else I got? Why candles touch resistance and support? Why candles not touch resistance and support levels? Because it's the market. I mean, they're random. That's why. They don't have to. Okay. It's just when they do, my goal here is to help people be prepared, right, for potential scenarios. I mean, that's why I call this, Bitcoin price action analysis and setups now, because if there are any setups, obviously there's not going to be too many right now, but I want you to be prepared for a setup if one develops. Okay. We don't want to react. We want to anticipate. So don't worry about why candles don't touch support and resistance levels. They're random, right? You want to be prepared for if one gets into a support or resistance zone and then gives you a legitimate reversal that you can measure risk from. Okay, Milad. All right, what do you think about Luna? Oh, yeah, worth the buy. Okay, I heard they are forking Luna. Okay, Luna. Okay, for all the lunatics out there, look at that, Luna. I was actually going to write something about this. So what do I think about Luna? First of all, how much is this thing right now? Okay, it's almost zero. Okay, so in a matter of a week or whatever, this thing went from basically $88 or about $100 to zero. Now, whatever the news is, whatever it is. Here's a couple of lessons that you need to take away from something like this. What do I think of it? Don't touch it, for one. I don't care what the rumor is. Okay. Oh, I heard they're going to meaningless, means nothing. Let them do it and not let the chart prove otherwise. Otherwise, stay away from this thing. People are still going to be, oh man, maybe it'll bounce back. Even if it bounces to $20, that'll be a lot, right? It's gone to zero. Now, this is the risk that you face when you buy and invest in altcoins. This is the risk that you face. I'm going to say it again. This is the risk that you face. People don't want to believe it. The fake gurus aren't going to tell you that that's the risk in the face. A chart will not warn you that you're going to get caught in something like this. So understand that that is the risk you face. Zero. Okay. A stock like Intel is not going to do that. A stock like Walmart is not going to do that. Apple is not going to do that. But an altcoin will do it. It's likely to do it, especially in this environment. So that's lesson number one. Lesson number two, risk management. Okay, if you had stops, or let's say you were investing and you weren't going to use stops. Okay, no problem, right? We talk about that all the time. Small bites. There was no reason to be aggressively investing into this thing. So if you were in small bite, maybe you had a couple of thousand that you wanted to invest, and you're only investing $100 at a time. By the time it does this to you, obviously you're not going to be all in, right? So you'll still have your money safe on the sideline, protected as it should be, and only a few $100s exposed to this. That's why it's so important to look at risk first and respect risk. Okay, people, a very common mistake that I see, especially in a situation like this, because no one expects this to happen, right? They get too big too fast. And the way that begins is they start out as maybe a day trade or as a swing trade. They have a large position on to begin with because they think that, oh, I thought it was going to do this. There was a signal and I was only going to try to make $1 or whatever the excuse is, right? And then it turns and they say, well, it's going to be an investment now. It'll come back. So I don't want to take this loss. I'll wait till it comes back, right? And sometimes that works, right? But it works randomly. So you now face this type of risk when you make that kind of excuse. Can't do it. Stop focusing on the money. Focus on the risk. The reason why no one makes money is because they're focused on the money. They're focused on the reward. Reward comes from good risk management, all right? Just like a poker player. How does a poker player make money? Is it because they're really skilled at looking at the cards? No, it's because they manage their money very well. And of course, the skill in poker is deception, which is a little different than this, but you understand my point. The risk in the skill in this game is not charts. The skill in this game is how you protect your capital and managing your risk and evaluating risk. Everything's about risk. You shouldn't even be thinking about reward until your risk is at a level you say, okay, I'm willing to accept that risk. What is the potential that this thing can justify the risk? That should be your second question, okay, not your first. All right. So I hope that answers your question. Man, I'm talking too much. Let me move along here. So all traders are so smart nowadays. No joke. I've watched live streams on 10 years ago. Everyone was saying golden words about risk. Okay. Well, actually, Jaguar. Well, that's an interesting point. I believe it's far from true, because as with all the information that's available today, like you can look up videos on YouTube. There's all kinds of stuff here on TradingView and on teaching people basic stuff. I mean, there's tons and tons of information. With a lot of information, people are still irrational. It does not make them rational, right? That's why people get sucked into things like Luna. That's why they still believe the fake dream that fake gurus continually put out. That's why. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with some sort of emotional need. And that's what makes investors irrational. And that sentiment is how a professional can potentially profit if you know how to read those extreme sentiment signs, right? And it's basically what my strategy is based on. All right. I bought some on coin. I hope it was better than W wrapped Luna USD. Okay, I guess that's what that means. Yeah, I don't know, but not my thing. Okay. Anyway, so let's move along. Let's see, get my other chat here. Can't forget about you guys. All right. So Eligius, MMM. So that's 3M. So let's take a look, right? 1 week. Now this is a Dow stock, right? And the Dow Jones hasn't gotten as hammered as the other indices yet, but look at this chart, right? So this is the weekly chart. Look what's going on here. This is probably going to be a nice reflection of the Dow. This structure right here, while you do have a little mini high or low, this thing is still respecting this resistance level, okay, which is 154.5 basically. That resistance level is a lower high. So if that resistance level cannot be broken and the market goes for another leg lower, watch out for these supports to break. I would not be aggressively buying into this thing, that's for sure. 143.79, right? That's one level right there. And then you have this support right here, which is 139.74. You clear that, this thing is going, to the bear party. All right. So I don't like this level. I don't like this structure as far as longs go. No way. All right. It's a lower high, and don't get sucked into those lower highs. If you want to buy something like this, for one, use the Dow as your guide, or even the S&P. Those markets have not bottomed. Excuse me, they have not bottomed yet. So if you want to invest in these type of stocks, again, small bites. All right, there's no justification for larger investments here. If you go back to my streams from like when Bitcoin was pushing 60K, I was saying the same thing about Bitcoin. There's a lot of potential to go lower, blah, blah, blah. The risk is very high. If you have to invest, small bites, small bites. If people had listened to that, then they should not be overly exposed, while Bitcoin has, pulled back over 50% off that high, along with all those garbage altcoins. Okay, small bites. The bond market will give you the sign, okay, that it's a time to be more relaxed about what's the word I'm looking for, where you could be maybe more aggressive, or maybe put some more money to work with more confidence in that situation. We're not there yet. Okay, we're not there yet. Don't believe, like, I know everyone, they're not going to believe me because I'm not on the mainstream news, and I'm just some dumb bald guy who, blah, 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 right? Whatever. Not going to believe me. Don't listen to all these experts that are, he's been in the market for 50 years. It's all nonsense. I'm just telling you right now, right? Everyone wants an opinion. Everyone wants an opinion to be given to them. Don't have an opinion. Let the bonds tell you what to do. The bonds are trying, as we can see, but it's still not enough. Okay, I'm not convinced yet. It takes time for the bonds to prove themselves, right? It's not going to be a couple of day thing. It can be a couple of month thing. I want to see, what's Powell going to say tomorrow? Is Powell going to give us any hints? Is he going to hint toward he needs to raise more? Is he going to talk about the oil situation at all? Right? That will change. That can change the perception. Powell may say something bullish, right? That's good for the market. He may say something that's not so good for the market, and the market will then begin to price it in if it's a surprise. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. All right, the bond market, by the way, gave plenty of signals that the party was over in the stocks way before the party was over in the stocks. So the stocks were still making high after high after high, even though the bonds had turned. So understand, there's a delayed reaction. It's not going to be like, okay, bonds turned, time to invest in stocks. It's going to be a delayed reaction, right? The stocks are going to be behind. So the bonds may turn first, and the stocks may push lows again. They may do something bearish, whatever. But that's what you have to look at. Okay. All right. So let me see what else I got here. I'm just going to jump over to the other one. I bought. Okay. Good to see. Hey. Okay. Oh, from Afghanistan. All right. Welcome. What is your idea about GMT and Solana? So GMT, I was looking at that actually as a potential long at one point, but then once Bitcoin started breaking those supports, I said, forget it. Okay, I'm not going near this thing. Right now, to answer your question about something like GMT, look, generally it was a nice looking chart, right? Until it started breaking these supports. Like this one broke, but I was still sort of interested because I said, okay, we'll still have that support right there. You see that? But that support is clearly broken. Not only that, we have a lower high established, and it's about to generate a new sell signal. So not interested. Okay. First of all, these things are followers. They're not leaders. A lot of these are overhyped garbage coins. Most of them are worthless. So if I'm going to invest in any of these type of things, I'm looking at Bitcoin, possibly Ethereum. You want a leader, not some garbage hyped altcoin. Okay. Remember Cardano and all those other nonsense coins? All right. So anyway, that's GMT. Lower high. I would anticipate the lower low, or at least test of low, especially in light of how Bitcoin is behaving, right? Bitcoin has the lower high in place. If Bitcoin goes for that lower low and retests, either finds a bottom at 25K or breaks lower, where do you think this is going? Okay, so not interested. And real quick, Solana, because that one was also a very popular garbage coin, right? I remember people used to ask me all about it when it was up here. And I go back to my streams. I was telling people, don't get caught up in these things. They're garbage. Okay. Let's take a look at the weekly chart real quick. Okay. Also, when it was up here, people were also talking to me about it. Again, garbage. So lower highs. All right. This thing made the lower low. You're testing an old resistance. Look what you're testing, right? Old resistance acting as a new support. This is a weekly chart. So yes, you are in an attractive price location. I'll give it that, but you are not in a friendly environment. Okay. So the chances of these things turning around and having some kind of recovery are very low. I mean, we have to have an open mind. Anything is possible, but you have to ask what needs to happen, right, for these things to say, okay, the bottom's in, we can have another party again, and all the fake gurus can start pushing their altcoins on people, and everyone will make money, right? What will it take? Well, for one, we need speculative money to come into the market. Right now, money is still exiting the market, right? So what will it take to bring that money back? Well, for one, the Federal Reserve, right? The Federal Reserve needs to get off this interest rate rising thing, and they need to come out and start saying things like, we've over-raised, and we rethought our philosophy, and we're going to stop raising for the near future, and we'll figure things out. They say something like that, where they basically say that they're not going to raise anymore. Then you'll see a bottom put in on these things, right? And then it would make more sense. Structures will begin to change. But until we're in that type of environment or some other type of catalyst that's going to bring in money into these things, we have to assume that there will not be a catalyst, right? Until there's one. So it's too early to get into these things, right? So again, I'm still pessimistic on these. I'm still bearish generally, especially with the way Bitcoin looks. It's possible that Bitcoin can touch 20K. It's possible. It's not a prediction. It's possible. Understand what I'm trying to say here. If it touches 20K, where do you think these are going to go? You think these are going to rally? So as far as, like, again, investing, if you really believe in these coins and you want to take, you want to build inventory, I would say small. What if this thing goes to $25? Okay. Do you want to have thousands of dollars tied up in this thing? No, of course not. So if you only have if you only invest $100 a month, or maybe $200 a month or something like that, you always have the option of saying, okay, this next month I'm going to hold off and see how it goes, or whatever. You don't have all your money exposed. Does that make sense? These are highly speculative instruments. They're not going to do well in this environment. So people that are looking for sound investments, you look for sound companies like Intel, like ExxonMobil, like Walmart, right? Those are stocks. And some of them will pay you to hold them. Those stocks are not going to zero anytime soon, right? So that's a sound investment, not these. These are like penny stocks. Most of them are worthless. You don't understand that, back in the dot-com era, when I started, there were hundreds of dot-coms. There were hundreds of them. They all had great ideas, and they were all legitimate stocks. Most of them are no longer listed, okay? Just so you know. And they all had great ideas, and they're all going to do great things. There's only a handful of them that still exist. All right, and some of those leaders back then are still today, right? Amazon, Yahoo. I remember, Yahoo's not a leader today, but it's still a stock you can buy, right? eBay still exists. Those were the leaders back then. All right, Amazon is the only one that really made any kind of any real significant, progress. You have other ones like what was other big back then? Google. Well, Google came out after the dot-coms. It came out a few years after, so I'm not going to count Google, but you get my point. Anyway, all right, let me jump across here. So that was GMT and Solana. Physical metals, silver in particular, cheapest I can buy it for is 26, okay, which is a $5 premium. Way cheaper to buy paper silver for sure, but you don't own paper silver. Right, so what do you do with something like paper silver? Well, it's for speculation. XAG, gold and silver, XAG USD. Look at the silver. Look at this. There's a physical. They've been talking about the physical shortage for quite some time. Okay, that's silver. That's paper silver, right? That's the CFD of silver. Look at the range low on silver. Nice price to be buying paper silver. All right, you don't get that very often. There's a range low right there. But keep in mind, the level on the chart looks great. This is a wave 4, by the way. I've been talking about that for gold for quite some time. This wave 4 consolidation, and you're at the bottom of it. So attractive price for gold. Let's take a look at gold, right? That's silver. Let's take a look at gold real quick, right? Gold is sort of in a similar situation. Let me go back to the daily chart. That's an old trade that I have on the chart. I think that one got stopped out. So gold has been weak, but again, understand what you're dealing with, right? The chart may look good, and it's a great location, great price. You're still fighting a strong dollar. don't fight the strong dollar. I wouldn't touch these. I've been actually bearish on gold. I was actually trying to take a short position on gold, but again, I missed it because the dollar is so strong. At some point, yeah, the dollar is going to turn around, and maybe these things will go back into their bullish modes. But until that dollar finds some real weakness, and I'm not talking about like a little minor pullback, I'm staying away from these metals, okay, because I think they're trouble. People argue, but we have inflation. We have 15% inflation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but the Fed is fighting inflation now. So it's not about what's happening now. It's about what the market is pricing into the future. If the Fed is fighting it now, then they expect less inflation in the future, right? So it doesn't matter what inflation is right now. It matters, if the Fed is taking action against it or not, and they are. And that's what the market is pricing in. So that translates to me, stay away from metals, right? Or they're not going to be rallied. There's no reason for them to do anything magical until we have inflation problems again, right? Or printing money or something clear where the market can now perceive that the value of the dollar has no chance of going higher, right? That's what the market needs to perceive. That's not the case right now. The Fed is behind a strong dollar, not a weak one, all right? So anyway, thanks for mentioning. Any thoughts on Link? All right, I'll jump over to Link. Let's take a look. Link. So again, another junk coin. Again, I'm very hard on these altcoins because I view them as basically a means to make developers and fake gurus rich, not you. So that's all they are. They're vehicles to make others rich. They're not legitimate investment products for sure. They're highly speculative. There's nothing wrong with investing in something highly speculative, but you want to be in the right environment for that. And we're not. People don't give any mind to the environment. They just, whoa, low price, I'm going to buy it. Right. Low price is a good thing, but not in an environment that doesn't support it. Right. That's the problem here. So look, this is a weekly chart. You broke these supports. That support shouldn't have broken, number one. So it's made the lower low. So any rally in this thing, I would be very suspicious of. If I were looking to short these things, which I'm not, but if I was, I'd be looking for sell signals. If that tells you anything. With this right here, it's a potential lower high. This is a daily chart now. That's a potential lower high developing. That can turn into a sell signal for a short. So what do I think of it? I think it's weak. And I think it's going to continue to follow Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin finds stability, you'll probably see stability develop across the board. Right now, there is none. So how much is this thing right now? $7? Who knows? This thing can go to $5. Again, I'm not making predictions. I don't pretend that I know, the future, because I don't. But I do recognize the risk of the environment and what's favorable and what's not. Okay, and that basically goes back to just gauging probabilities. I think probability favors this thing going lower unless it proves otherwise. All right. So our job as a market timer is to constantly gauge risk and say, okay, I was expecting this from the market. Okay, or you should actually, a better way to say it is the market was telling me this, right? It was telling me lower low, but now the market never gave me the lower low. Instead, the market delivered a double bottom. That's a new piece of information. In a weak market, I shouldn't get a double bottom. In a weak market, I should get a lower low. So maybe the market is not as weak as it originally looked, right? That's how your mindset needs to adjust. Not, well, it's bearish. So, yeah, bearish. I'm going to listen to all my fake gurus because they all say it's bearish, so it must be bearish. No, you let the market speak. Okay, so again, something like this, lower high, it's reasonable to anticipate the lower low. If the market does not deliver a lower low, then we may have a change taking place. The first thing I would look for, of course, is Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin putting in the double bottom? Is the S&P putting in the double bottom? What are the bonds doing? Right? Those are all the factors I'm looking at, not just the chart in isolation. Does that make sense? Okay. So that was that one. All right, let me jump along here. So I got 3M on this. So Kai, SB1. All right, let's see. Now, guys that are typing into the chart here, what is SB1? Is that this thing here? What is SB1? Is that sugar? Oh, maybe it's sugar. So I'm guessing it's SB1, and then this must be sugar futures. Okay, is sugar going berserk? Because I like sugar. I eat a lot of it. Okay, let's see. By the way, people that are typing stuff in, okay, hold on. By the time I get to your I'm like way behind you. Okay, I'm like behind you on these things. So just be patient, and I'll catch up because I'm still like an hour behind you here. I'm still looking for at chat things from 3:05. All right, so sugar. Look at this. Interesting. These are the futures. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. I mean, look, sugar's kind of all over the place, but generally, right, that's a bullish trend. No wonder why the sugar products that I buy are more expensive. Anyway, you have a higher low right there. Okay, so this is a higher low consolidation. Probability favors a higher high. You have this pin bar that formed, what was that? I guess a week before, and you gapped above it, right? So, I mean, certainly wouldn't be looking for shorts. That's clear, right? So that's one side of the equation canceled out right there. As far as buying this right now, I mean, you're going right into that area, which is more of a resistance. So it's a tricky area. I wouldn't be buying that. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be calling a swing trade into that because it's too much can go wrong there. Okay. You're running right into this resistance. You may get like a double top, although a higher high is likely. I'm not willing to take that chance. I don't like breakouts, especially on these time frames. So what to do with something like sugar? Identify your next support. So your next support in this situation, you have a support here, which is pretty clear. That's what it came off of, right? So any retest of that, what is that? 1830, something like that. If you get something like that, perhaps you get a test of this high. Maybe you get another test of that low. Maybe you get another higher low somewhere in there, okay? Which you have an old minor resistance here from that goes back to this area right here, right? Perhaps price will test that right off of this high, and that will give you a buying opportunity. So those are the levels that you have to anticipate. Those are the levels that you should be preparing for. You should be noting on your charts, okay, or wherever you put your notes, and that's what you should be preparing for, right? So if you get a reversal there after the higher high, that could be a buying opportunity for something like future, like sugar. I wouldn't be shorting it, right? Just don't even bother shorting something like this because the risk is even greater. This thing breaks out. So you either have that or you have the breakout and perhaps retest of this old high. Obviously, that high is a significant high. I mean, look, this goes back quite some time. Look at this. What is this high here? $20, right? Whole number, not surprising. So if you can break $20 on future on sugar and you retest it, that would also be a potential buying opportunity, at least for a swing trade. That's how I would look at it. Does that make sense? So thanks for asking about sugar. I'm sure you can. There's a CFD. I'm sure someone will let you trade the CFD. If not, if you're not going to trade the outright futures themselves, from I guess the SIBO trades these. I don't know. I don't trade sugar futures. All right. I think this is a time for playing mostly defense as a retail trader. Preserving capital, right? Protecting your capital should be your number one priority all the time, but particularly in this environment because things change so fast. And things can go wrong so fast that certainly the biggest mistake you can make is hoping, right? Hoping something comes back because you get caught in something. The moves are very dramatic right now. You don't want to get caught in one of these. Okay. All right. So I'm just jumping through the chat here. Why is your primary focus on Bitcoin for these live streams? Well, Thomas, that's a good question because a lot of people trade it. A lot of people are interested in it. Also, it sort of acts like the S&P for all coins, right? It's the main one. So that's why I focus on Bitcoin. And then I ask, people give me other charts they want me to look at. But that's why I do that. I used to look at other markets, but people aren't interested in them. People don't want to see the S&P. People don't want to see the bonds. I'll show them real quick, but I used to spend more time on those things. No one wants to see them. So, I want to put a stream together that people want to watch. Okay. So I have to at least be reasonable that way. All right. So that's why I stick to Bitcoin. All right. I mean, I'm not going to pick a flavor of the week coin. Like if some altcoin is going nuts, I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, I'm going to analyze this stupid altcoin for 15 minutes because it's a stupid altcoin, right? I'm not going to do that. So I'd rather pick something that's more useful and that gives you more utility. If Bitcoin breaks levels, most likely your garbage coin is going to break levels too. So use Bitcoin as your leader. I always tell people that. All right. Let me see what else we got here. All right, jumping over to the other chat. Okay, so I went over a link. There are people on TradingView with premium saying, I'll give you your money back with my VIP trade signals Okay, what's this guy saying here? There are people on it with premium saying, I'll give you your money back with my VIP trade signals if it doesn't play out. That's interesting. That's an interesting gimmick. Okay. All right. I'd love to get your opinion on Lucid. Okay. Let's take a look at Lucid. LCID, Lucid, right? So again, this is the electric car situation. I remember when they were making a big deal out of this one too, right? This is one's going to beat Tesla, blah, 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 blah. Nonsense, all nonsense. Stop listening to people. So let's see. You're at an interesting level. I'll give you that. Look where you are. Okay, that's a weekly chart. You have a reversal, right? Look at that weekly pin bar. Nice, from the previous week. Took out the high of that pin bar, but so far today is red, right? The market's closed. So let's now take a look at a daily chart. So a level like this, again, this is a growth stock, and it's going to be dependent on a lot of factors. Rising rates are probably not going to be good for a company like this, especially if they have to borrow a lot of money. So, again, what all that means is there's really not too much for this thing to find a bottom just yet. So as far as swing trades, I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't waste my time with swing trades. But as far as investments go, again, this was one of the bigger names in the industry. I don't follow too many details in that industry, but you have this little lower high developing. Again, look at something like this from an investment perspective, small bites. Pick one day per month where you're going to make your purchases. And, if this is one of your favorites that, you believe in, these are certainly good prices. Just realize that they can get better, right? Because we're not in a supportive environment yet. So as far as levels go, 1325 is a possibility over the next few weeks. Let's go back to that weekly chart and see what else you got here. So that low that's the 1325 low. So it can revisit that low. After that, you have nothing. You have zero. I mean, it's going back to zero here. What is that price there? I can't even read it. I think is that $10? So if it clears that 13, if it clears this low, I mean, you're in the bear party zone at that point. So that's why I guess it would make the most sense to take your small bites and accumulate inventory over time. Again, you have to have a predetermined allocation amount. So if you have $10,000, okay, I'm going to invest this $10,000 across, other sectors, right? Maybe some electric vehicle, maybe some energy, maybe whatever. You figure that out. And then let's say your allocation to electric vehicles happens to be $2,000. Well, so now you're going to have maybe $100 increments, maybe $200 increments. And each month you make your $200 purchase, and that's it. Okay, no matter where the price is, that's it. So if there is more room to go lower, like on the S&P and all that, these are going to suffer. So this thing's at 13 now, it may go to 8, it may go to 5. Look at the pot stocks. I mean, I shouldn't compare to pot stocks, but these things were the flavor of the month, just like these garbage pot stocks. This is Canopy Growth, which was the best of the pot stocks, right? This thing's at 573. This thing was at $50 at one point, okay? And this is the leader of the pot stocks. How can it blah, blah, blah? What's the low on this thing? 483. Okay, so I'm just saying, be careful of these flavor of the week nonsense things. It's not Tesla. All right, so just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean it won't ever rally again. Just keep your risk, keep your bites small. If the stock behaves in a way that you don't like, you don't have to make the purchase that month. You can wait for the following month. It doesn't matter. Since we're at these lows, does it matter if you buy some up here? Does it matter if you buy some up here? If you're taking small bites and the thing is working its way higher, then you're still generally in a low area. Does that make sense? So you're not going to miss out. Don't make the mistake of, I got $10,000 and I'm going to throw it all in here because I think it's the bottom. Don't do that because there's no way to know. I don't care if the RSI says we're oversold. Right? As Jerry Seinfeld, the RSI says we're oversold. Kramer, how come it keeps going lower? All right. I've been watching too many of those. Let me see what else we got here. So let me jump back. I know I don't sound anything like him, so trust me, I don't get paid for my jokes. Let's go back here. I remember a week ago, I'm just going back on the chat on the other stream here. Okay, again, Bergs, thank you. All right, I'd love to get, okay, so that was Lucid. All right. Could you have a look at Alphen? Okay. It's near 94 resistance. Okay. Sure. Say, okay. So is that Steen? Sure, Steen, no problem. I remember some weeks ago when I asked you about the question, what you think about putting your savings into stable coins to earn more on staking instead of at the bank. You had your doubts about it. We now know why with UST. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure with UST. I'm not sure. There was too much nonsense with those stable coins and sucking people in with that staking. It was just strange, right? So anything that's like strange like that, you can't. You have to understand. There's no regulation in this business. There's none, right? In that kind of stuff. So they want to run away with your money. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the Tether situation yet, right? You're not talking about Tether, are you? Because that Tether situation, that gets out of hand, you're going to see some real problems. All right, let's go back here. Alphen. Okay, Amsterdam. All right, let's take a look real quick. 1 week chart. So in this situation, look, Steen, you come up with some decent charts. That's definitely not an ugly chart. Okay, you have a higher low, generally bullish trend. Okay, midterm trend is range bound. You have it's a broader higher low. You have another higher low over here. So those are all signs of strength in a general environment that's not so friendly. You also have these resistances. Okay, these are the resistances that you're dealing with. So as far as buying something like this right now, you missed it. Right? If you were going to buy this, you had to be like looking for the higher low, and you're not always going to catch these. Sometimes you don't get a clear signal and it just runs. I mean, look, you got a gap. This is the daily chart. You got a gap. There's, you're not going to be able to catch something like that. Perhaps there was some news, right? You had an inside bar on this day over here. So if you said, okay, I got the inside bar, I'm going to buy the high of that inside bar tomorrow. Well, it gapped. So even if you had tried to do the right thing, the market gapped away from you and you missed it. All right, no problem. No need to chase. Okay, so it's definitely, look, we can agree that this thing is generally strong, but chasing it now is a bad idea because look at the risk you face. You're going right into a resistance, right? Selling activity is likely to develop here. So what to do? Well, identify your next support levels, right? So we know that there's a support level there. We know we can argue that there's one around here somewhere. Okay, so that would be, this would probably be a more probable support. On top of that, gaps tend to act as support or resistance, right? So you have that gap in there. That whole range can be a support. So you have some supports to anticipate here if price retests them, all right? So that would be one possibility to prepare for. The other thing is, if you get the breakout, right? Again, no need to chase these things. You get the breakout. If price breaks out without you, no problem. Okay, or if you want to take a small bite on the breakout, that's up to you. But again, I would not suggest going nuts here because I'm not a breakout trader. But this thing breaks out into this area up here, okay, somewhere, wherever, and retests this old resistance. At that point, it would be an old resistance. That would be your next opportunity to potentially put something on, at least in terms of a swing trade. Does that make sense? So that's how you have to look at that. Okay, again, I'm talking about preparing for things here, not telling you what's going to happen next, because again, there's no way to know. Like I put in my analysis on TradingView, you're not trying to figure out, not you, Steen, but you're not trying to figure out where the market's going next, right? Point A to point B. You want the market to get to point B, whatever it chooses as point B, and then be prepared. We can at least anticipate some levels where a potential point B can be. Or maybe you could say a point B and a point C, right? A support and a resistance. Let the market choose one, and then you should have an idea of what to anticipate after that based on the context of the situation. Like, are you in a bearish trend? Are you in a bullish trend? That's going to help shape the trade idea and help you manage your risk. Does that make sense? Okay, so I hope that answers your question. All right, so Apple. Okay, Berg's Apple. Apple's going to look just like the NASDAQ. I'm just telling you right now. All right, how am I doing with time here? Let me check the time. Hold on. I'm sorry I'm missing your chat. You got, okay, I'm a little over. I'm going to go for a few more minutes. I always say that, but I'm definitely not going to run for 90 minutes. Okay, so let me see how I'm doing here. Okay, all right. So let me just run through this here. Apple is going to look like the NASDAQ, right? So, I mean, look at this consolidation on Apple. Man, sucked in a lot of people over here, right? So what to do with this? Again, you're playing with the NASDAQ here, right? Just think it's the same thing, basically. You're in a support area. Sure, it's an attractive place for Apple. A situation like this, by the way, you broke all these supports, okay? It's trying to get its act together, but it may establish another lower high right in this area here. The old support area is likely to act as a resistance, okay? That's what you should be watching for. Number one, same story for the NASDAQ, okay? Number two, trades like this, I mean, if you're looking for short-term trades, you can do pretty interesting things with options or option spreads. Like something like this, for those that are familiar with options, something like this, you can do like a bull call spread or even a bull put spread where you're actually shorting a put and you buy a put below it to protect you if you're wrong and you're just collecting a smaller premium. Something like that, if this thing just gyrates around here for a little while, right? Again, something like that. I'm not here to talk about options, but there's some interesting things you could do in these types of situations, right? So if this thing works its way higher and wastes time, you can take advantage of that without taking a ridiculous amount of risk. If you don't know what you're doing with options, then ignore everything I just said. Okay, so anyway, but this is basically you're dealing with the NASDAQ. All right, so I hope that answers your question about Apple. At this point, I'm still looking for lower highs and lower lows. Okay, until the market proves otherwise, I am not anticipating that we're at a bottom. There's no reason to be optimistic or okay, the bear thing is over and now we're going to go back to our regular bull mode. There's no reason to think any of that. Do not have opinions. Be objective, right? So I let the market tell me what it wants to do, and then I adjust my risk from there. When the market gives me a new piece of information, I adjust. I don't have an opinion. People are, where do you think Bitcoin's going to be a year from now? I have no idea. There's no way to know. Oh, I think, things are going to get better because, I looked at the local job market and people are still hiring. Nonsense. Doesn't mean anything. Okay. Doesn't matter what you see in your little isolated area. Look at the Federal Reserve. Look at the bonds, right? Those are global macro forces. Use those. When they change, like if we're in an inverted yield curve, I don't care what you say about your local job market. If we're in an inverted yield curve, that means recession. That's it. Okay. Anyway, so that's my rant. Let me see what else we got here. How would you recommend using economic calendar? Okay, so as far as a trading strategy, it's only to mitigate risk. Okay, there's no trading strategy around the economic calendar. People like to make that mistake. People would wait for something like NFP and try to trade that. If you're a day trader, that's a different story, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Do you do any other impressions besides Seinfeld? Not really. I have to think. I mean, I do like local impressions of like, what people sound like around here in New Jersey or Brooklyn or, things like that. But as far as, well-known celebrities, I don't think I have any. I have to think about that. But good question, though. Okay. Gold. Okay. I went over gold, Douglas. Went over that real quick. Thank you very much. It is very, okay. No problem. No problem. Okay. I went over Luna. Kim, good to see you. Okay, man, this is a while ago. All right, let me jump over to the other chat here. Again, if I missed your question, I apologize. Let me just see what I have here. So I went over Apple. All right, Burak, since you asked the equivalent of S&P Turkish stocks, it's BIST. Oh, maybe you can give a better look for the Carols. Okay, BIST is the S&P equivalent. Okay, thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so BIST, I'll have to keep, let's just take a look at that real quick. Can I see that? Let's see, BIST. This is the Turkish equivalent. Is that right? BIST USD with oh, here it is. This is the Turkish equivalent of the S&P. Wow. Certainly doesn't look like the S&P. Look at that. That thing is bullish as anything else. Bullish, bullish, bullish. Interesting. It looks like, looks like an altcoin. Is that right? Wow. All right. So yeah, I mean, certainly Burak, that would be your gauge. And that you have a consolidation in here. That looks like it wants to break higher. That's what the chart structure says. Okay, that's what it says. Okay, please take a look at 002594. I'm long from. Okay, so this is Chinese. I would like to know what to do. Okay, about that chart. Let's take a look. 002594. All right, it's a Chinese stock. Let's take a look real quick. and you're long from where? Let's see, 235. And this thing right now is at 267. Nice. All right. Well, you certainly have a winning trade there. So at this point, look, when you're in a situation like that, you want to look at the resistance levels, and you also want to look at the risk that you're taking. If you're beyond like 2-to-1 reward risk, you should be taking something off the table. I mean, that's just what I would tell anyone. That's just it's a wise thing to do. Don't try to maximize because you're just asking for trouble. All right. If you're greater than, like, I mean, I start taking a greater than 1-to-1, I'm happy. If you're greater than 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, certainly would be a good time to start reducing. Now, doesn't mean you take off everything. You want to try to let some run. There's no problem with that. It's just reducing your risk when you have a nice justified reward risk. So as far as something like that goes, look for your resistance levels. Okay. You have one over here, 288, and see if it gets there, right? That's one. And then you have another one just above that. What is this? 297, so 300. Those are your reference points. Those are your levels. You can also trail a stop, right? If you want to hold on to some and just trail, manually trail, put it like 2 candles behind, but use daily candles. Don't use smaller time frames because you're more likely to get stopped out, on just noise. So see if the thing wants to run. But, again, that's not holding your entire position. That's holding a portion. Perhaps you hold half the position, maybe a quarter of it. I don't know. You have to decide that. But it is a good idea if you have a nice profit to lock something in. Okay. It's always a good habit to get into. People, oh, but I locked it in and it went another 100% higher. That's just greed. And that, while there's nothing wrong with making more money, that habit is a bad habit and it will cost you a lot more money in the long run. That's why it's bad. Okay. That's why greed does not work in this business, because it's more costly than it is profitable. All right, Ronald, I agree with the analysis, but Cardano is not a garbage coin. They're all the same, man. I mean, look, I agree to disagree. They're all the same. I mean, Cardano, you know why I pick on this one so much? Because the hype is so ridiculous. The hype was so ridiculous on this thing. So many people got sucked into this. Look at this thing, right? I mean, pretty much it's following Bitcoin. The low here is 40 cents, all right? And this thing right now is at 56 cents. As long as the market continues in this bearish environment and rates are rising and speculative coins are going to suffer, this thing could go to 20 cents. It's a garbage coin, just like the other ones. Okay. And all these great things that they were going to come out with, and the white paper and all this nonsense that I watched this one guy read from their Twitter feed a while ago. Nonsense, right? He was basically trying to imply this thing's going to be at $20 by next month to 40 cents. Okay. So garbage. Sorry, it's garbage. Right, we're in bear season, but why are we in bear season? Because there's no more speculative money coming in. So the next wave of speculative money, at some point the cycle will change, but which one of these are going to be the stars? You think it's going to be this one? I mean, no, there's no way to know. I don't know if you remember the previous cycle that we had before these garbage coins came about. We're talking the 2017 cycle. Right, when we had that rise from 2016 to 2017, right? The rock stars back then were like IOTA and all these other nonsense coins, Stellar Lumens, and they went nowhere on this run. Nowhere. They went like a little higher, and then they were not the flavor of the moment, right? This is just a flavor of the moment, in my opinion. We'll see. Again, it's okay to not agree, because that's what makes a market. But I have very little optimism about these. Okay. If I'm going to put money in this space, it has to be a leader. It has to be something proven like Bitcoin. Okay. Or Ethereum. AOL. That company still exists. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's talking about no, it's not even, AOL Time Warner is actually the company. Look, the ticker is not even there anymore. Back then, right, AOL was a big one back then. Okay, is the dollar strong or is it just inflation? Cardano is the only altcoin that I like for now. Okay, no, the dollar, look, again, don't get caught up in opinions, right? Is the dollar strong or is it inflation? The dollar, inflation would make a weak dollar, right? Not a strong dollar. So, is it inflation in other currencies that are driving up the dollar? It doesn't matter. People say, oh, but it's a dollar relative to the basket of currencies. It doesn't matter. The dollar is strong. Okay, that's all that matters, because it puts pressure on everything else. It doesn't matter if it's because the euro is inflating and everyone's putting their money in dollars, or whatever. Don't look at that. All that opinionated stuff will get you confused and most likely on the wrong side, right, if the market changes. Just focus on, hey, dollar is strong. This is the dollar against the other currencies. It's strong. Higher lows, higher highs. Until that changes, dollar is strong. Doesn't matter why, right? So dollar strong is an anti-inflationary environment. Okay, it's fighting the inflation that we have in this country, and it's going to take some time for those effects to be felt. But as long as the dollar continues like this, it's going to put pressure on things, and it should be putting pressure on things like oil, which it's not, which is interesting for oil. Okay, but oil is a geopolitical thing, so you can't always use that kind of logic. Okay, small bites, right? Okay, Coca-Cola. All right, so let me jump over to the chat. I can't forget about the other chat. Looking, okay. Just, okay, heard about, now I understand better the risk with alts. Oh, okay. Luna, 5 waves, and it was clearly in a corrective mode, and that prevented me from keeping. No Luna in my inventory. Good job. Hello. Oh, from Cape Town. Welcome. All right. South Africa. 5 waves, and it was clearly in a correction. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Mario, good to see you. Powell speaks at 6 p.m. GMT. All right. So I'm not sure what time that, I don't know what time that is. All right. Let me just look at this. Okay. Yeah. So thanks for mentioning, Kai. Again, people, be aware when that guy speaks, Chairman Powell. Okay. Hey, Mark from New Zealand. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a wild time to be listening to me. All right. Hey, Julio. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I got lots of questions here. All right. I'm not going to be able to answer all of these. All right. Michelle. Hey, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time from Italy. All right. Michelle Amoni. Buongiorno. All right. I used to say that to her all the time. All right. She hasn't been here in a while. Good to see you. Hope all is well. When the dollar, okay, S&P will look just like, well, I don't know. We have to see, right? Dollar is not, there's no reason for it to do that just yet. It's against the trend. That's why it looks so good. Okay. Oh, it's against the Turkish lira. Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. So it's priced it because lira is getting so weak that everything against it is appreciating. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Since you asked the okay. Please take a look. All right, so I went over that. Let me just see. Okay, that was Cardano. All right, people, I got to wrap this up. So I'm just running to see if there's any quick questions I can answer that don't have to do with charts. Okay, Dogecoin. Oh, man, I'm not going to look at that now. I'm sorry. Only time will tell. I tell my team only invest in what you can lose. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's always a thing, right? The money that you invest, you should be able to lose it. All right. I think you are confusing the charts because BIST and Carol stocks are against the Turkish lira. Okay, right. Okay, so that makes sense. That makes sense. No, I didn't. I just realized that now. Right. That makes sense. Thanks for pointing that out, you guys. And we got some smart people in here. That's good. So it's just the weak Turkish lira that's driving things over there. So it's not actual. It's not like a bull market. It's the weak Turkish lira, which again, just like Kai was just saying here in the other chat, a weak dollar will drive up, things that should be getting, like if dollar pulls back right now, oil is going to go berserk, because with the dollar this strong, something like oil should be going lower, right? Because now the dollar can buy you more oil, right? So oil is cheaper relative to the dollar, but not in this case. Does that make sense? I don't want to confuse things even further. All right, you guys, thanks for mentioning. All right, Warren Buffett mentions once that company like Coca-Cola will do during inflation. You're going by conventional investor wisdom. I'm not a fan. Okay. Maybe that's true that it'll do well because people have to drink that stuff either way, because people have to have that, right? It's like a drug, I guess. I have no opinion. Maybe it does well, maybe it doesn't. What is that? KO? I mean, it's been doing pretty well, obviously. And it's a defensive, I guess you could call it a defensive stock, because whether the environment is good or bad, people still have to drink that stuff. Okay. So I don't have any opinion. Look at the chart. Chart is strong. Okay, it must be strong, right? Because a chart is a reflection of the things that we can't see. So if fundamentals are generally good for whatever reason, thing wants to go higher, you don't ask why. You just accept it and measure risk off of this. That's it. And that's more of the philosophy of a market technician, right? We don't care why. We're only interested in measuring risk based off of what the chart is telling us, historical information on the chart, and trying to use that information to measure risk in the future. It's not perfect, but it basically assumes that markets are a discounting mechanism, and that whatever, all the known information in the world at the moment, whatever it is, good or bad, if the market looks like this, that means for whatever reason, this thing is thriving in that environment. That's all it matters. All it matters. You don't need to sit there and pour through their income statements and this and that and all this other nonsense, because if all you're looking to do is capitalize on momentum, especially, it doesn't matter. Okay, I know no one wants to hear that, and a lot of mainstream news organizations have made billions of dollars by telling people good stories. That's what drives investors, good stories, right? I don't tell good stories. Look at charts. Charts are boring. They don't tell stories. Okay, not exciting ones anyway. Like, this stock is going to be the next Apple, or it's going to be the next this, it's going to be the next Google. And if you buy it now, it's only $3 and blah, blah. That's a good story. Okay. So brokers used to call up, like I said before, stockbroker used to call up a doctor on the phone many years ago and tell him a good story to get that doctor to invest $1,000 in this stupid stock that they've bought a ton of, and now they're going to unload on the people that they call, right? Fake gurus do the same thing today. All right, people, I got to wrap this up. So I want to thank you all. I'm sorry if I missed your question. I apologize. Kai, do me a favor. Just check out the message that I sent you. Okay. And again, if I missed your question, I see I missed a few here. I stream every Monday, so you can come back next Monday and you can ask me again. There's other ways you can reach me. Just look at the links and stuff like that. Other than that, I want to thank you all for taking the time here to listen to my analysis today. I hope you got something out of it here. I'm just going back to the Bitcoin chart again, just to wrap this up and to leave you with this. The goal of these streams is to have you be prepared. Okay. I'm not making predictions. I'm not telling you where the market's going to go, because I don't know where it's going to go. Just like any other professional should tell you, they don't know where it's going to go. I can gauge probabilities. I can measure risk. Okay. And then at that point, if I can accept that risk, or it's attractive to me, then I can take a trade, right? Whether that's an investment or if that's a swing trade. And that's it. That's the best we can do. The less information you can use to make a decision, the better. More is not better in this game. So you need to get that out of your head. If you're one of these people thinks more is better, I have more oscillators, more news, more this, more that, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be another random, your results going to be random like everyone else's. You can get the same results from flipping a coin. If you can get the same results from flipping a coin, then what you're doing is no good, okay? Because you might as well be at a casino then. It's the same outcome. There's no need to even look at a chart if that's what you're going to do. So the goal here is to be prepared for potential scenarios. And if the market delivers the scenario, then you know what to do. You're no longer reacting at that point because you've anticipated this scenario. You know what you're looking for. Either the market shows it or the market does not. If the market does not and shows you something else, then you adjust. Okay, that's what's called listening to the market. The market speaks and we listen, not people. People are mindless, people are clueless, or people have ulterior motives and they lie because it's profitable for them to do so. Don't listen to people. The market is the market. Okay, so if you learn to follow price and you follow structure, you follow levels, and you look at these factors of the context that can help shape your perception, then from all that information, you should be able to gauge risk clearly. That should be your goal. And of course, protecting your capital. Because like I said before, as a retail trader, your job is to make others rich. Okay. So understand that most of the information in this business is set up for you to trade. It doesn't matter what your outcome is because you're making someone else rich. So it is your job to protect your capital. All right. And the first way to do that, protect me, that's easy. I just don't trade. No, the first way to do that is to learn how to manage risk and only focus on risk. The reward is secondary. All right, so I'm going to just leave you with that. Again, I hope you enjoyed my stream. I want to thank you all. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope that you're coming away from this with some new information, preparation, and confidence, which is how you should be coming out of my stream. All right, so again, if you haven't pressed the like button, do me a favor, press the like button. It's always helpful. Or subscribe to my TradingView thing, so you get my analysis each week when I write it, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you read it, because I put some information in there along with a rant or two. You know how it is. And that's that. So, all right, again, everyone, I want to thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you so much for watching.